I'm joined here with Iceman John Scully, fresh off the fight with Artur Beterbiev versus Dmitry Bivol 2. This time, your guy came in on the losing side of this effort in another insanely close fight. The scorecards were 115, 113 Bivol, 116, 112 Bivol, 114, 114 for a draw. How did you guys feel about the decision, Scully?
I think it was fair. Honestly, going into the seventh round, I've said it many times. Going into the seventh round, I felt very confident. I've For the first five, I almost thought Dimitri didn't want to fight. I felt like just being there close, the vibe and everything. I felt really strong. And going into the seventh, I think Arthur took a breather. He set a strong pace from the beginning, and
Mm-hmm.
Dimitri, it gave him confidence. And then from then on, the fight kind of changed a little bit. So we kind of, I mean, you have to take a breather. You can't go 12 rounds all out. Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, and but he just the way the cards were dealt, Dimitri picked up on it and he took advantage of it.
So we talked about on the podcast a couple days before the fight. You came on here in this corner with weighing in with Travis Hartman, and we both talked about it. We are like, we really hope that Turkey Ali Sheik is not trying to set up a trilogy, and we hope a
Right.
trilogy is earned. Do you feel the trilogy was earned now?
I mean, honestly, I can't complain about the decision. He fought a very good fight. I thought Dimitri fought a very good fight. And you got to give credit to him. You got to give credit where it's, everybody thinks, or they expect. We actually expect the losing team to say they got robbed, the other guy sucks, and all this kind of stuff. And it's just not reality. The guy's great. They're both great. And it was a very good fight. He fought a good fight. I think, like I say, I think when Arthur took his foot off the gas there, he let him back into it. And I don't know if you could hear it. I haven't watched it, but I was yelling in the corner, in between rounds. I'm like, Arthur, you cannot let this man back in. He will take advantage of it. And but it's easier said than done. When you're at that level, sometimes people say, well, why didn't Arthur just bully him and smash him like he did all those other guys? I said, well, because those other guys aren't Dmitry Bivol. Like that's
Fair
why.
point.
You know, and but I would think somebody came over to our corner right after the decision was announced. I can't remember who it was. Somebody involved with the fight came over and they said, "We're going to do it again. We're going to do it again." So I don't know if they have the power to say that, but that was
Yeah.
the vibe. That was what I was told right after the fight.
So what you're saying is you guys didn't have anything in the contract then that was saying that if a win or a loss happens, there's a trilogy guaranteed. So there's nothing that's contractually obligating either guy to do this.
I'm I'm going to tell you something about me in regard to this that I think you and a lot of people are going to be shocked at, right? I don't know. I have no idea. I'll be honest, and this is the shocking part. And it didn't occur to me till you just asked that question. I feel stupid admitting this. I have no idea how much Arthur made for that fight. I don't know how much he made for the first fight. I have no idea. I don't get involved in the business at all. I don't care about the business. If they do if they had it in the contract, good. Because even when they have stuff in the contract, they still get, if they want to get around it, they're going to get around it. So I don't even listen when people tell me, "Oh, it's in the contract." I go, "Listen, have you been paying attention to Don
Yeah.
King for the last 40 years? When has a
Yeah.
contract ever meant anything?"
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you sound stupid for saying that. I think for one, I think you sound honest, and I think that you know what you know, and you know
Yeah.
boxing, so like you handle the
But you
stuff
would
that you
think
know.
I would know how much the guy made. but,
Yeah, it
but
says,
I,
well, I don't know for sure, but the initial reports are that both fighters made 10 million each, is what they're saying. And I don't know how
right.
accurate that is. I mean,
I
it's
have
in
no
Saudi Arabia, so they could probably
idea.
fudge whatever they want to fudge.
Right.
But yeah, it's reported as that. So I guess back to the fight just a little bit. It was weird to me because I think this fight had the exact opposite feel of the first one, meaning Beterbiev started out a little slower
Right.
in the first one, picked it up
Right.
in the end. This one was like the exact opposite,
Right. Right. Right.
which
Right. Right.
I
Yeah.
guess if you think about it, that's not shocking because I think both guys knew that. So they went in trying to counteract that probably.
Yeah. 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 For
Right. And
sure.
then
For
look what
sure.
happened. He barely
Like I
loses a
say,
decision.
I've always said it doesn't take a genius to tell how Muhammad Ali's supposed to beat Joe Frazier, right? So, after the first fight, both guys saw the same thing. We have to adjust. We started too slow. We started too fast. So they reversed it, and but that it's smart. You have to adjust and take a shot. You got to take a gamble sometimes. Usually Arthur is a guaranteed stronger finisher,
Yeah.
but it's his nature, I guess. People think of him as a destroyer, but he takes his time. Obviously, he takes his time, right?
Yeah.
And if you run into something, then he gets it over with quick. But he's always planning on the distance. He's always planning on a later fight. But we felt like we had to start quicker because that was our downfall last time. We didn't start quick enough. But
I mean,
that's
but you
the
still won, so it wasn't a
yeah,
downfall though.
right. But we felt like, man, that's why we had the rematch because it was
Mm-hmm.
it was close and it was controversial, and so we said, okay, we're gonna flip it on them. We're gonna start much quicker, and I thought Arthur would have been able to sustain that, but you realize he's 40 years old and it's a high level intensity fight, and that's what makes boxing great. That's what makes it interesting. That's what makes every fight different.
That was going to be my question. And I'm not trying to insert that it was his age by no means because we talked about it before. You said that all of his results and all of his like technical stuff was saying that he's better now than he was 2 years ago, which I
Right,
can
right.
see that too. But you mentioned a little bit. Do you think that possibly that is what played a little bit of a role? Because I mean, Bivol is only 34. Beterbiev just turned 40, I believe. So and going into the later rounds, usually if you see a guy fade that normally doesn't fade, it could be because of age, or maybe he just put on the gas too early, or maybe was it Bivol puts through something out there that Beterbiev wasn't used to at that point that he hadn't seen in the first fight, and that's kind of what caused him to fade. Because sometimes people think they just fade. I'm like, no, maybe the other guy was doing something to make him kind of fade, throwing him
Right.
off by throwing, jabbing him, keeping him off balance, moving, whatever it was. Do you think any of that came into play, or you think it was his age?
It's I really don't know. I really I haven't we haven't talked about it. I have not watched the replay. Like I say, my first thought, like I say, is that he started faster, under our instructions. Like we
Yeah,
told him,
that
we
was the game
trained
plan.
to start faster, which he did. He's a champ and he does what we tell him, and he started faster. I figured he was going to be able to sustain that, because the way he trains and everything. You can't discount age. It may have been a factor. It may have not. I don't know. I could easily say, yeah, it was the age. But we still have a career. Like he still wants to
Mm-hmm.
fight. We're going to go
Mm-hmm.
forward, and and he's still going to do the same things he does because he was successful with it. I mean, having one glitch in 23 fights or whatever it is. I mean, that's not a bad ratio.
Yeah, that's not bad at all. I think you just touched on something before this about how neither guy jumped in the ring was like yelling robbery. And I love that about Bivol and Beterbiev because we talked about on the original podcast. If you walk down the street, the average person, in my opinion, probably wouldn't know who either guy was.
Right.
But I think they should. And I think that that's what Turkish Al Sheikh is bringing because he's putting guys that deserve to be front and center that aren't trying to catch headlines because they're some flashy yelling, screaming about something. No, Beterbiev and Bivol, I feel like, are very good boxers, but hard nosed, train their butts off, no nonsense. We go into the ring, we fight. We don't need all that flash. We don't need to promote. We have a promoter for that. We do our
Right.
business in the ring. And I think that was refreshing, especially seeing how both guys in the end, and that's the whole team. That's you guys as well. That's you, Mark. It's the whole team of Beterbiev and Bivol. I feel like they all were classy in defeat. They were classy in victory. And honestly, for me, I can't wait to see the trilogy. I think the
Right.
trilogy is going to be amazing. I hope it happens very soon. They did the rematch, I think, in a perfect timeline too. And I hope that the trilogy happens at the same timeline. And I really, really think the fans won. I think boxing won. I think Turkish Al Sheikh won because we were a little skeptical because I'm like, a trilogy makes sense and it will sell, right? Obviously, no matter what happened. But I think a trilogy was earned. And that's what we've talked about on the podcast previously. I was like, I want to see this trilogy earned. And I think it was. I gave it to Bivol slightly. I gave the first one to Beterbiev. I thought the decision was okay. Obviously, I could see it was a very close fight. And people kind of complained about the 116, 112. And I'm like, you don't understand that there were so many swing rounds that were really close and they just favored
Yeah.
Bivol.
Well,
116, 112 is not that wide if you think about it.
well, you know what I realized years ago, like at a you know, I'm a sharp guy, right? I'm not stupid, right? And I realized like a fight could be 10 rounds to 2, you know, a wide, massive difference, and it could be a really close fight, right? Like, look, my fight with Michael Nunn, one of the judges had it like a shutout, right? And I remember being in the ring and hearing them say that, and I'm like, are you sure? Like, are you sure? Like, I just was in the fight, and I know we were fighting. It was a close fight. But if I fight you for 5 rounds and I beat you every round by the hair on my chinny chin chin,
Yep.
I won 5 rounds in the closest fight in history. So it makes no sense, but it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, I think what people don't realize is each fight is scored round by round. After round one is completed, they sign it, turn it over, next round. So,
Right.
and that's, you're not wrong. And that's what's hard for people to comprehend sometimes because I'm hearing people call robbery too. And I'm like, guys, of
Nah,
all the fights in the world, this was
yeah.
a very close fight.
It's a close fight is not a robbery. Like people, I
Never.
think I think it's just people don't understand. Like if I watch a fight and I thought you won and you didn't get it, I yell robbery. I go because I thought you won. I go, yeah, but a robbery means it was obvious that I
Mm-hmm.
won and I didn't get it. You know, a close
Mm-hmm.
fight can't possibly be a robbery. It makes no sense.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Again, I thank you for taking the time again. I know you were in Saudi Arabia and you came on the podcast, and now you're back home, obviously, and you're on the podcast. We appreciate your time, Scully. I appreciate your efforts. And obviously, you came up on the wrong end this time, but I think you're part of history, though, Scully, which is pretty cool. Real quick, I'll throw a bone out there too, because you are always doing things to raise money for past fighters who are struggling and things like that. I've already saw on your Facebook page that you are raffling off your credential from a historic fight. And
Right.
I want people to know that you do that and to see you always post it on your Facebook page. You're selling memorabilia, all the stuff that you do. You don't keep any of it. You send it off to fighters that you've picked,
Right.
that need it and earn it. Is there anything that you want to kind of tell anybody about what you're currently doing right now?
Well, I have the credential, which I think the guy just sent the money for. Like I saw a notification a couple minutes ago. But I have 2 Facebook pages. The one you saw was my John the Iceman Scully Facebook
Mhm.
page. I also have Iceman John Scully, which I have a phenomenal glove that I just put up about an hour ago. You can go to that Facebook page,
Okay.
Iceman John, and check it out. I've Willie Pep is on there, Archie Moore is on there, Bob Foster's on there, Hector Camacho. Like it's an unbelievable glove.
Nice.
And what happens is, so people send these to me. Somebody sent that to me in the mail. It was waiting for me when I got home yesterday, and just out of the goodness of their hearts. So they send it to me, and I put it up, and I'll get good money for this one,
Mhm.
and then I'll go, and I'm actually going to bring some money to a fighter today. I'm going to drive today at about 4 o'clock. I'm going to hand this guy some money in person. These guys need it. I mean, so many. I guess the ultimate thing would be this: a lot of your viewers probably assume that all these famous $1 million world champions still have money. They do not. Many of
Yeah.
them absolutely. It's a long story why, but in a nutshell, boxers are not like NFL and Major League Baseball and football and basketball. They don't have the college education. They don't have advisors and managers that really educate them on finances.
Mhm.
You're
Yep.
giving kids who have no money, in some cases at all, and now he's got $1 million. You tell him, hey, just do what you do, and who knows what they're going to buy with this money because they've
Yeah.
never had any money. And guys, they're ending up broke, and so I try to help a few of them. I've probably helped Indirectly, like a direct check,
Mhm.
probably 20 different guys, some of whom is continuous, year after year. I help these guys.
So it's not just boxers, mind you, because I watched a Netflix documentary. 60% of NFL players after 3 years are broke. 3 to 5 years are broke as well. So even with the education and all that, it's still whatever happens, these guys are
But
just
the
losing track.
NFL has a pension.
Yep.
They get a pension. Boxers
Yep.
get zero.
The
Like,
NFL also has healthcare, I believe, too,
oh,
and things like
and
that. Boxing,
imagine
none
that.
of
Like,
that.
people, that's what I'm saying. People would assume these guys are okay. I'm going, nah, man. Once we're done, we're done. We're cut off. We have
Yep.
nothing. The NFL, they have a pension for the rest of their lives, and it's a little, they can still go broke, but
Yeah,
maybe it's a little harder to go broke with a pension, right?
for sure. I mean, you got
But
to have
yeah,
enough years in the
boxers have
NFL,
no
but
pension, none whatsoever.
I think it's awesome what you're doing. How do you pick a certain fighter that you're going to give that money to? Is it based on his immediate circumstances, or how do you go about that?
Generally, it's immediate circumstances, but sometimes I'll say, I'll literally say to myself, I haven't heard from this guy in a little while, but I know his situation is not going to change.
Yeah.
So I'm sure he could use it, but sometimes they call me, at my request. I'll say, hey man, if you
Hmm.
ever need anything, call me. And sometimes they'll call me and say, hey man, like I remember one time the generator went in the house, and it was wintertime, and they're like, man, we don't, it's cold in here. Like, we got to do something. I need some
Yeah.
help. So some I have no. If any fighters, need help, I'll help. If they could kind of like Bobby Ches, normally I wouldn't tell circumstances, but his circumstances are getting to be known. He's got cancer, and he's in bad shape, financially and physically. Now he's got to pay for the treatments, out of pocket. I guess he doesn't have insurance, so he's got to pay for it out of pocket, and he has to pay for an Uber to bring him there every time he goes to the treatment. There's actually a huge event for him. I believe it's March 30th in New Jersey. You can look it up online. I'll be there.
Okay.
Jerry Cooney's going to be there. Larry Holmes is going to be there. Iron Barkley, all kinds of guys
Big
are going to be there.
names.
It's a huge fundraiser just for Bobby Ches.
That's awesome. I
Yeah,
love that you're doing that. You're giving back. I know that all of us boxers should do more for the past guys because they kind of paved the way to where we're at now, right? Like
right.
some of these older guys weren't making the money that a Bivol and a Beterbiev are making right now. $10 million a
Not
fight.
even close. Marlon
Exactly.
Starling, if you remember Marlon Starling, two-time
Yeah.
world champion, Marlon never made $1 million payday in his life. He had over 50 fights. Never made $1 million payday.
I mean, it's not surprising, knowing the game. We've both been around it long enough. That's not surprising to me. But the average person would hear that and they'd be like,
Right.
what? No way. This guy's rich and famous and he's off. He's well. I'm like, it's not like that. Boxing is definitely, there's levels to being a professional boxer, right? Like,
Yeah.
and then there's, even though some of the world champions didn't make that kind of money, you just had to have a superstar personality, a superstar backing, everything. It's insane. I think it does need to change. I think that what you're doing is awesome. But I think what you're doing is also just putting a band-aid on a big problem, right?
Right.
I mean, I'm not cutting, you're doing amazing. You're doing
Oh
more
no,
than I
no,
do,
believe me,
and I
you're right.
appreciate it.
You're 100% right.
But I
You're
think that
100% right.
ultimately there's got to be something better done where, I mean, even what if it's even taken like 0.5% of these big time fights of their purse and putting it in a Roth IRA or, some kind of a general fund and make some money off of it to when these guys need it, we can dole it out because it's going to be the big time guys that have to help, right? It's not going to be these
Imagine,
small club shows.
imagine if they said, look, going forward, if you make $50 million for a fight, we're going to take 100,000 of that off the top, and we are going to put it in a fund for fighters, right? I mean, I'm sure nobody making $50 million would object to
I don't care.
100,000 being put aside for guys. And believe me, I've sent former champions of the world who fought on HBO. I've sent them $50, and they called me and thanked me like I had just sent them a million.
That
Like
hurts, man.
they were so grateful for just $50.
You're doing an awesome thing, and maybe one day we can collaborate on something like that where
Yeah.
we figure out how we can help these champions. Because what you're doing is amazing, but it's again, I think it's a band-aid on a massive problem that boxing has.
And actually, listen, let me say, where are you from originally? You're not from Oklahoma.
Missouri, Kansas City, Missouri.
Okay, you're near Oklahoma, right?
Yeah, they're not far.
Yeah, you know Carson Jones.
Yeah, yeah.
I just heard today he's in bad shape. He's in the hospital.
I seen Haskell Rhodes, a guy that I fought actually, who's good friends with him, just posted a couple days ago, but I didn't look into it.
Yeah.
I wonder what's going on
I
there.
guess
I fought Carson.
Yeah, I met him. I saw him in Montreal a few years ago, sparring with David Lemieux, and we got to talk. He's a nice kid, but yeah, I read this morning. That I don't know the details, but they said he's not doing well at all. He's in
I'll
bad
reach out to
shape.
Haskell and see, and then maybe I can forward on some information too.
Right. Yeah, do that.
All right, Scully, I appreciate you, man, coming on here. I appreciate it, especially being in humble, in defeat, and in victory. You guys are top notch people, and that goes from Beterbiev to his trainer. You're the Beterbiev's assistant trainer. You've been there for 8+ years, his whole career, pretty much. We appreciate it. I can't wait to see the Beterbiev Bivol trilogy, history in the making. I love it. Again, thanks for coming on Weighing with Travis Hartman, Scully.
Yes, sir, buddy. Thank you.
Thanks, brother.
All right.